Yes, I think that in both countries the outcome was predicted. Al-Sisi won in Egypt and Assad won in Syria. They both got almost 90% of the votes. But the actual numbers of people that voted were probably less than 50% in both countries. What is really interesting is the Western response to these two elections. President Obama has welcomed the election in Egypt and said that he looks forward to working with Al-Sisi. Even though just a few days before the elections, Al-Sisi had more or less threatened to crush the Muslim Brotherhood. On the other hand, they have attacked the election in Syria as being completely worthless. Of course, an election in the middle of a civil war is not going to be inclusive, and certainly people in the areas controlled by rebel forces were not going to be able to participate in this election. What is actually surprising is the large numbers that have participated, including among refugee populations in other countries, neighboring countries of Syria, where people were seen waiting in long lines. Now that elections have taken place in both countries, it would be appropriate to wait and to watch how they try to deal with the enormous economic and political problems that both face. Well, the G7 of course used to be the G8 till some months ago when Russia's membership was suspended. Nevertheless, by being absent at the meeting of the G7, Russia actually dominated the proceedings. There have been more threats issued of sanctions against Russia, and it seems as if there is something slightly childish about the fear of even shaking hands with Putin, especially when you consider the extraordinary comparisons being made. Putin has been compared to Hitler, his actions have been compared to those of the Nazis. This is really hostile and it is unworthy, even though it is a fact that Russia has annexed the Crimea. But this kind of expressions of antipathy will not take the European countries towards a resolution of the problem. And it's easier for the United States of America across the ocean to be so severe on Russia. It would be much better if they could have some more discussions, and it is expected that the Russian president will meet with the French president, the German chancellor and the UK Prime Minister separately, and it would be in the interests of tamping down this kind of instability and the quite lethal fighting in eastern Ukraine if they can move towards resolution. I think the more or less simultaneous presence of the Chinese foreign minister and the US Assistant Secretary for South and Central Asia is a coincidence, but it is also a measure of the importance that is being attached to the new political dispensation in India by both countries. With China, we have a lot of ongoing discussions. We also have a long disputed border, and it is important that China is moving so quickly in trying to raise the engagement with India. The president, even before the elections, had announced that he would like to visit India later this year, and we welcome the foreign minister coming to India. The Chinese president had announced that he would like to visit India in autumn, even before the election results were known here. And the call by the Chinese foreign minister will enable preparations to begin and for some clarity on both sides on which issues will be prioritized and taken up. With the United States, The issues that have high priority are well known because we are two democracies, everything is in the media all the time. But it is also useful that the Assistant Secretary is here at this time. It is likely that Prime Minister Modi's visit to Washington DC in September will be preceded by a visit from the American Secretary of State John Kerry to India. And there is a lot of important bilateral issues that need to be discussed because there has been a kind of hiatus in the relationship in the last at least 1 year, but probably even longer.